Hey guys, welcome back to Honey in the Rock. I'm Sophie, and
This is Corrine. I'm so excited to be here.
thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a junior here at Furman.
Sweet.
I am a communications and visual strategy minor, which I love, and I'm interested in going into like interior design or marketing. So we'll see where I end up.
That's so fun.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about me,
Yeah.
and I'm from Charlotte.
Okay.
I have one younger brother.
Sweet.
And I love the color yellow.
Cute overalls. If you guys are watching, she looks really cute.
Well, thank you.
And this is like kind of perfect under it. Oh, your shoes. Those are so fun.
I'll show that.
Those are so fun.
Thank you. They're my favorites. They go with everything.
Yeah, they do.
They're so
literally.
colorful.
Okay, cute.
Yeah.
Good job. I'm just gonna borrow clothes from your closet.
Come over anytime. Seriously, I mean it.
Try on some things.
Please. That's what they're there for.
Good. Thanks. I don't really know how we met, but we had like some mutual friends, and then somebody was like, "You need to meet her. You guys would get along. You guys kind of." I just told her this. I was like, she was like, they give the same vibe, and I was just so excited.
That is so sweet to hear.
I know.
I really don't know how we met. I feel like I just knew you.
I just saw you one day, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I heard about her."
Yeah, that's how I felt.
So this is exciting.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Furman?
Well, my dad actually went here.
Oh, sweet.
So he came here, and so I grew up coming like a few times a year.
Yeah.
I've always loved Furman.
Yeah.
And then I honestly did not think I was going to end up at Furman just because I wanted a bigger school.
Right.
And then I came for like Furman Admitted Students Day, and I loved it, and I fell in love, and I felt so much peace about it. Yeah. And I'm so happy to be here now. Okay. So
that's
really
the Lord
knew exactly what he was doing.
Good job, God. Okay, let's hear your testimony.
Okay, loaded question.
Yeah.
So, let's see, where should I even begin? So, I grew up in a Christian household. Okay. My parents and I would say, now that I have been following the Lord, we view what it looks like to follow the Lord a little bit differently. Okay. But with that being said, I grew up in a Christian household, grew up going to church every Sunday. My parents are awesome, and I love them very dearly, and I'm so thankful for them. And so, anyways, I grew up there, and then I have always been a really anxious person. Like starting in 3rd grade, I had just the worst anxiety about tests. I didn't want to take the EOGs. Yep. And I was so afraid of them. And like over time, it kind of just like progressed into like general anxiety, and I was so worried about absolutely everything. And then it progressed into social anxiety. So then I was so worried about like what everyone was thinking about me, and oh my gosh, what did I just say in this? And everything that comes with people pleasing. Yeah. So I really struggled with that throughout, starting in elementary school all the way through high school. And then I would say it was at probably its worst during COVID. It was so it would have been my sophomore year. And my sophomore year, I started going to Young Life. Okay. So if you would have asked me, I would have told you I'm a Christian, like I believe in Jesus. Yeah. Like if you would have asked me that, I would have told you that. Yeah. And that was absolutely true. But I will get. Oh, actually, I'm gonna leave that. Okay. I'll get there in a minute. Yes. But anyways, I started going to Young Life, and then COVID hit, and then I guess I just realized that my friends were such a huge and integral piece of me that like not seeing them, I was so just worried all the time of like, oh my gosh, like why are they not responding? Like what are they thinking about me right now? And I was just like spiraling into so many different ways of like what people cared about and all that sorts of terrible things. Yeah. But anyway, so I would say mentally I was just not in a really great spot during COVID. Yeah. And then my junior year, I went to Young Life Camp, and I was still just like struggling really bad with anxiety. And I guess I was just really honestly like wrapped up in so many like worldly things of like, oh, like self-help will help you, and all sorts of things of just like trying to find like worldly sources of fixing it. And of course, none of that was working. Yeah. And then I get to Young Life Camp, and I'm sitting there, and it was on the cross night. I still vividly remember it. It was on the crosstalk night, and the gospel just like clicked in a way that it had never clicked before. That's so cool. And I just sat there and was just in absolute awe. And I have never felt the presence of the Lord more than I have felt it in that moment. It was so cool. And it was even crazier just because the Lord, I mean, this is not most people's stories, but the Lord just relieved every single ounce of anxiety like off my shoulders and just took it off. And honestly, I have not struggled with anxiety since. And it's an absolute miracle, but I have not struggled with it since unless I'm not dwelling in the Lord.
Yeah.
And that is really where, like, I find that if I have an anxious day, it's because I didn't have my quiet time, or like I'm not surrendering this.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I think that, I mean, the Lord just worked in so many different ways, and it's been so cool just to see like how he turns ashes into such beautiful things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really crazy to think about. Like in that moment, I had just felt so much peace, and everything was just lifted like right off of me.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful for that because I'm a completely different person than I was.
Yeah.
Like completely
That's
different person.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of like a little glimpse into my story. And I mean, the Lord has brought me very long ways from where I was, but also I have a very long ways to go.
Right. Yeah.
So it's
that's so cool.
I mean, it's a daily surrender, but I think truly the difference was I was trying to do this all on my own of like, okay, I'm trying to seek out these worldly self-helps and just trying to fill up these voids that were actually making me even more anxious. And then when I finally just sat there and surrendered it all, like that's when I was healed.
It reminds me of Psalm 23 as you're talking.
No, wait, that is what I was going to talk about.
That's so cool.
That is so weird.
It's my favorite thing in the world.
Me too. Wait, what verse?
Let's go. All of it. I can't
true.
really choose one. Right now, it's like surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life.
I literally cannot make this up. I will show you literally what my notes were.
Oh.
Like, I actually cannot make this up. It was in my notes because I wanted to talk about that verse, of how much that verse has changed me.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
That's actually crazy. Such a God thing.
That's so cool.
Okay, anyways.
And I was just like, literally, I felt like I was like walking that road of Psalm 23, like the beginning of being like, okay, this, and then it's like, okay, well, he's gonna lead me here. Like I'm so anxious and I'm so like striving to find all these things that are gonna bring me peace and help me stop worrying. And then it's like, okay, actually, just lay down in the green pasture. Like I'm gonna lead you by the side of the still water, and like slowly this peace is coming. And then it's like, okay, not that life is perfect now. Like you're still gonna walk through these valleys, but you know who's with you, and that's Jesus. So and it's like, okay, I'm not trying to grab this like next book or the next talk or the next thing. It's like, okay, I'm gonna grab on to his staff and follow him. And then it's like, okay, this is where it comes. It's like we get to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And that's our hope. And so now we can dwell in him now, and that's where our peace comes from. That's so cool.
That is so crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was gonna talk about how like the imagery that I have just been seeing recently with the Lord that has just been giving me so much peace is all of the like tables that he prepares, and like we always have a seat at his table. Like that's just
literally sent Caroline a photo of that yesterday. A picture I drew this table. I'm not a drawer, but I drew this like table with chairs pulled up to it because the whole things of like the Lord's Supper and like pulling up a table and not giving the enemy a seat at my table and like being like Satan is trying to sit at my table and I'm not gonna let him. And if he does sit down, like I'm fixing my eyes on Jesus who's across from the table from me. Okay, I want to hear it. Okay, so same.
That is actually so crazy. Yeah, no, that's what I've been finding so much peace in recently. Is just like that imagery of I can't even think of what the actual verse is, but the parable of the the lost son.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know why I blanked on that so badly, but
okay.
It's the parable of the lost son and how the father is like out in the yard and is just like so excited, like welcoming home, waving to him, and is so excited to welcome him home. And I just imagine that to be Jesus, and like dwelling in the house of the Lord is like that is like Jesus is there just like waiting, and he's like, come like it's such a joyful place here, like come, you don't have to bring anything. And it's just so cool because then we get to sit at his table, and like there's always room at his table.
Yeah,
which is such a cool
so
thing.
good. And like I want more people to be sitting at this table.
Right.
And so it's like that's why we go and share the gospel and live in light of the gospel. But then it's like just look at him. And I like didn't realize this growing up, but like how they sat at tables weren't like at chairs like we do. It was like reclining, and Jesus was reclining with them. And I think that just like shows this whole other perspective of like if you're laying down on somebody's floor, you're probably pretty comfortable there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like I don't know whose floor I was laying on until I'm comfortable with them. And I think that's just like another cool thing of being like, he wants to lay on my floor. And I love to lay on the floor. So
yeah.
Like, okay, thanks, God.
Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
I like that little God moment we had just
yeah.
It's been like literally all week. It's like Psalm 23 has been like life changing for me the past probably like 9 months. But then just like for some reason the end of that verse, it just like so pointing out. So it's so cool that God's teaching you that also.
So cool. Yeah. I feel like just sitting in verse 6 of like surely the goodness and love will just surround me for all the days is such a cool verse, because when you sit in that you're like, wow, I mean that is so true. And like I mean we all testify to that, that like we've been saved, and that is solely by the goodness and the glories to him for that. But it's such a cool thing. Yeah. And it's such a sweet thing to think about too. It's like we're in the house of the Lord. Yeah. Like, and that's so sweet. That is where we are. And we don't need to be anywhere else. Like that is our whole purpose, is just to be sitting as his beloved in his home.
That's so good.
So cool.
And that just reminds me of, oh gosh, what is it? Okay. I don't remember what it was called. But just like him inviting us in like that. There was like a verse I was thinking of, but I can't think of it all of a sudden. And it's like exciting. I couldn't think of the parable. we just can't remember things today. Too happy. And then even like trading, like you traded your anxiety for this peace, and it's like when you realize you're his beloved. And when you realized all you had to do was sit in his presence, and all you had to do is realize he's been inviting us in this whole time, and I just had to say, "Oh yeah, that's what I want." And I think that's just like so cool how he trades. Like it's like new, like restored. I think something interesting. I don't remember where I was, but they were like somebody was telling the story of how their anxiety and depression was just taken, and I was like, oh, why was that not part of my story? And it was just this big thing of like wrestling and being like, oh, did I do something wrong? Did I? And so it's interesting to hear yours of where it was just taken, and then parts of mine where it wasn't just taken. And I think it's because the Lord has to teach us different things. And for me, it's like I have to be taught daily to rely on him. Not that not everyone has to do that, but it's like I have to be taught daily to give this thing to him, because I haven't quite learned that on my own yet. But then like in your story, like the Lord had to teach you something completely different. And he had to teach you like actually surrender your life to me. Like, are you ready to follow me? And I think that's interesting of like sometimes these struggles aren't just like taken, but sometimes they are. And like in that, God is teaching so many different things. And I like think that's so hopeful.
Yes, it definitely is. And it's so cool too, because I mean at the time I didn't see it in this way, but
my bag just fell off the counter.
But now I can look back and see it like that is the hope of heaven too. Like one day your anxiety and depression is going to be completely gone, and that's not even going to be a single thought in your mind, because like that is the hope of heaven.
I read yesterday a book, and it was talking about like Job, and he's like, Job probably has a good spot in heaven, like after all he endured, and then how he was still faithful to the Lord, and the Lord like shaped him. He probably, is not in like a shack in heaven. And it was like, okay, I'm gonna go up to Job and I'd be like, what was it like to lose everything? And it's gonna take him a long time to remember what I was talking about, because he's like, oh, what are you talking about? And then because he's so overwhelmed and in awe of what the Lord has in heaven for us. And like obviously like that's not exactly how that happens, because there's no more tears and no more pain, and we're not gonna remember like the hard things on earth. But just like the idea of it was kind of cool to me, being like, all these things that seem so big to me right now literally aren't going to mean anything in heaven.
Yeah.
And so how about I dwell on that?
Right.
Like I could stop dwelling on all of these things I'm worried about
Mm-hmm.
or you're not sure about. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to actually like dwell in the house of the
Mm-hmm.
Lord. And that just excites me.
Yeah. It's so cool. I mean, it's crazy to see his faithfulness in that too, of like, I mean, and exactly like my story's not the same as a lot of people's.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is, it's a beauty for sure of
Yeah.
like, that's such a miracle. But also like getting to see the Lord's faithfulness and like my life has forever changed. Like I came home from that camp and my life has been forever changed. And it's just been so cool to get to like see him through each step of that of, okay, like this is where I was preparing you for, and this is why, and like now I am a young life leader, and
that's so sweet.
It's just been so fulfilling and fruitful to like be able to get back to such a great ministry that I mean led me to the Lord.
You. Yeah, that's so cool. What did like following Jesus in college? What has that looked like for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say honestly, like, so this was my junior going into senior year, and so my senior year, I would say I was just honestly like kind of figuring out like, okay, like what does it look like to actually start like cultivating a life with Jesus, and like what does it look like for me to have quiet time, and what am I even supposed to be doing in quiet time, like what are all of these things even meaning? And so I really prayed for just super strong community coming into Furman, just because I knew that is exactly what I wanted. And I had two really great friends in my senior year who were both believers as well. And I started dating my boyfriend at the time. Or now he's still my boyfriend. Shout out Eli. But I started dating him, and he is such a strong believer, and just getting to see like what true community looks like through each of these people was so life-giving that I got to just witness the Lord through that. And so I would say coming into Furman, I just like really prayed for such a strong group of community, and I quickly got thrown in with a bunch of upperclassmen girls, and they were just so kind to me, and they served me so well, like trying to just make sure that I felt like I had a place here at Furman. And then eventually, like going to FCA, I created a group, and after I rushed Katie, my friend group was like super solidified, and that has just been the sweetest because I just love each of them so much.
That's so cool.
And we have all just gotten to walk through college together, and it's been such a gift to get to walk through college with all of them. And like, this is what it looks like to just be challenging each other and holding each other accountable and living with just so much joy that like this is what we get to do together. And college has just been such a gift of that, of like I knew exactly where I wanted to go, and it was like to be with his people, and he's just been so faithful and providing in that way. And I would definitely not be the same person without the community surrounded, because I mean ultimately, like, I mean, we can walk with Jesus every single day, but being surrounded by his community is like where we're really like pushed to grow so much and like pushed closer to him. And it's so important to find those people, because ultimately like those are the people that are going to truly push you.
That's so good.
And so
that's so encouraging too, like even being like as a freshman, it's like, okay, this is also exciting, like a gift to do life with people. Somebody came in my room last night and was just like sat on my floor for like 45 minutes, and I was like, this changed my whole night plan. But it was so sweet, because then I was like, I'll never get to do this again after college. Like, I'm not just gonna walk to your house. Like, you can walk 5 doors down and just like sit on my floor while I get ready for bed, and just like trying to soak in things like that, and being present in the season we're in right now, and like whatever season anybody's in, being present there and being like, what a gift this is.
Totally. And I think that is another thing that I've learned so much while being at Furman, is like I can make all the plans that I want, but like at the same time I want to live so unrushed that like I want to go to the dining hall and if I sit there for 2 hours and
Sit there for 2 hours.
I'm gonna sit there for 2 hours because I'm never gonna get this time back to like just get to see all these people as much as we get to.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is also such a gift of going to a small school too. It's like, I mean, we get the perks of that.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, it's just like what you're saying, like, okay, this girl lives 3 doors down from me, like, hey, come hang out. And then like that is just the fun of it.
It's
that
so sweet.
we get to do that.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I would say that just living unrushed has been one of the really big lessons of, okay, like I can be slow in his presence.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's okay to be good. It's okay to do that.
Yeah.
And that's like what we're meant to do.
Right. That's so good. That's so pretty too. Like I feel like I can imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like walking in a little field.
Yeah. Like there's no reason to walk around the lake fast.
No.
I mean, if you want a good workout, then you should.
Like, sure, but like you don't have to.
You don't need to.
You just get there.
Yeah, you don't need to.
That's really sweet. That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This was so exciting. I feel like that was like kind of crazy, God.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was
so cool. Well, gosh, Psalm 23.
That's
you
so
should go
exciting.
read it
I feel
after
so
this.
excited. It's slowly tilting the camera.
Oh.
Like I feel like it wasn't there at the beginning.
Oh wait, I think you're right.
But that's okay.
That's okay.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Seriously, I seriously loved it.
I
feel so honored to be here.
Thanks.
And all glory to him.
I know. He's so good. Well, thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye.